We begin with President Biden vowing to respond to a deadly attack on U.S. troops in the Middle East. 3 American service members are dead and dozens more injured after an overnight drone strike in northeast Jordan. ABC News Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has the latest.
The attackers targeted this remote desert base, Tower 22, in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border early Sunday morning. Officials say Iran-backed militants launched an explosive-laden drone into the base where some 350 Army and Air Force personnel are housed, with a devastating result. 3 American service members killed, at least 34 injured, 8 of those injuries so serious the Americans were quickly evacuated to receive a higher level of care. President Biden promising to act.
We lost 3 brave souls in an attack on one of our bases, and we shall respond.
The response thus far to the more than 160 Iranian proxy attacks on Americans in Iraq and Syria have been limited, largely striking storage facilities. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs telling me just days before this deadly attack, the U.S. is approaching retaliation with caution.
What would you say to those people who are critics who would say, look, they're not being tough enough on these militants. They're not being tough enough on Iran?
I would also ask, do they want a broader conflict? Do you want us in a full-scale war? We don't want to go down a path of greater escalation that drives to a much broader conflict within the region.
But with 3 Americans now dead, there is already growing pressure to strike and strike hard. The Pentagon has long had options for striking Iran itself, but Iran denying they had a role in the attack, a spokesman calling the accusations baseless, claiming the militant groups do not take orders from Iran and Iran does not want a war. But in addition to the attacks in Jordan, Iranian-backed Houthis have launched dozens of strikes on commercial vessels in and around the Red Sea, including this ship hit on Friday, causing a massive fire and emergency evacuation of the crew. The U.S. has managed to shoot down most of the missiles and rockets launched by these Iranian-backed militants, but these American deaths could mark a turning point in these relentless attacks, with U.S. retaliation a near certainty. Diane?
Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz, thank you. And ABC News senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez joins me now for more, along with ABC News contributor General Robert Abrams. Thank you both for being on. Louis, what are you hearing from Pentagon officials about what this means for prospects of this war spreading?
Well, Diane, I think that has been the main concern all along. This is all allegedly based off of the Hamas-Israel conflict in Gaza. At least that's what those Iranian militias are saying. That's what the Houthi rebels are saying in their attacks in the Red Sea. But again, this is now a situation where American forces have been killed in a hostile environment, the first time that has happened since the start of that conflict in Gaza. And I think that one of the things that you're going to see now is an aggressive U.S. military response. You know that you heard President Biden saying that the United States is essentially going to respond in some way. You're hearing really tough language up on Capitol Hill about exactly how to do that, and the way that they are pointing right now is striking directly at Iran in some fashion. Now, of course, that's something that has to be weighed significantly because it brings a whole lot of other issues along after that. But right now, you're seeing tough language up on Capitol Hill, and here, obviously, at the Pentagon, a lot of concern about what the next steps forward might be.
General Abrams, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says troops were deployed to Tower 22, quote, to work for the lasting defeat of ISIS. So what are troops doing there exactly, and how significant is this location?
Diane, good morning. The Tower 22 started really in about 2014 when the counter-ISIS campaign began. It initially was just a little spot in the desert, close enough to be able to provide some bare bones support to U.S. Special Operations Forces that were being introduced along with their partner forces into Syria. It has obviously grown since then, and there's been a lot of improvements over the last 10 years. But they are there principally to provide logistical, aero medevac support, and intelligence support to U.S. and partner forces operating in that area, principally fighting against ISIS.
So, General, what do you think a U.S. response would look like here? What are the options at this point?
Well, I think, comments made this morning by John Kirby indicate that CENTCOM is going to create and preserve as many options as possible for the president to approve in terms of a response. But clearly, this is going to up the game for the Central Command and U.S. forces there. There's going to have to be a significant response in terms of attriting, destroying any of these so-called Iranian proxy forces that are operating within range of U.S. bases, and particularly Tower 22. So we're talking about 600-mile range, the range of that suicide drone that struck on Saturday. That's going to all be in play.
All right, Luis Martinez, General Robert Abrams, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.